Colonel James Trafton, also known as Jim, was a strong leader, husband, a dedicated father, and a loyal friend. The need to take care of others began in his childhood.
He had a really good relationship with his mother, and he never knew his birth father. And so I think when he went into the role of parent or went into the role of leader, that he took that very seriously because he was lacking that role when he was younger. And so, he knows that how important those relationships are, and so I think that's part of why he strove to really hold people to high standards and to be present in what they're doing.
Colonel Trafton enjoyed his life growing up, but as he came of age, he soon found himself enlisted and in the jungles of Vietnam. The trials he faced in Vietnam would forge his leadership style and how he treated others.
Young man, 19, 20 years old, in the jungle. And I think that he got the other side of the picture. And I think that maybe he wasn't well taken care of by the officers.
He said that was one of his learning points was there are other ways to do things besides trying to fool soldiers, because soldiers will find you out. He ended up coming back. He had a Bronze Star, which weren't given out. It's just not something you earned.
After leaving active duty, Colonel Trafton still wanted to serve. Fate stepped in, and Wally Wolf walked into a retail job that Colonel Trafton was working at the time. Wally helped enlist him into the Kansas National Guard.
There wasn't much of, if any, persuasion. He wanted to do more than just his initial enlistment. I could tell that. And so when he came into the unit, he was immediately accepted. He always pulled his own weight.
We really worked as one big unit, and Jim Trafton and the other NCOs were responsible for that blend of unity.
There were many people important to Colonel Trafton, though none more important than his family.
He was a good father and provided a good home for him. So, what he would say to his family that, he did it for them and for the country, he would say that. And I'm sure they're proud of him, as they should be. So.
Because, occasionally he did miss important events, but you didn't necessarily feel that because then when he was there, it wasn't about the work, it was about the family. I have a memory of coming up actually to the building right down the road and riding my bike one time on a weekend inside the gym because my dad had to do some work, but that way we could still play and be with him.
You hear from soldiers, regardless of rank, sometimes about their wives. The one thing that you never heard Jim say anything negatively about was his marriage. He thought the world of Theresa.
And he was game for whatever I wanted to do. And I could name something really off the wall and he would say, okay, let's go do it. And we'd go. We took a lot of trips.
Colonel Trafton had many ways of making sure that you knew he cared for you. One of the ways was the annual hunting trip he set aside for close friends.
We hunted every year until the time he was deployed, and he missed that season. And the get-together, the camaraderie, it was great. And probably one of the best and truest friends a person could have. He was just that way.
It was always nice to get a deer or a pheasant, but it was more about being with your friends and visiting with each other and telling jokes and just having a good time.
When the unit got new Bradleys, he was instrumental in the transition and preparation for the deployment. Soldier care was of utmost importance to him.
That's another example of him just being full of life. He went through all that conversion process and through all the Bradley training, the fielding, hands-on, and a lot of senior officers would not have done that. He kind of led from the front, and he led from the front in Iraq, and he had some real challenges keeping those guys motivated because various elements saw some really tragic things. But he managed to do that.
He would put himself in danger. He would put himself at risk before allowing one of his soldiers to even think about it. That was the type of guy he was.
Was tall and with long legs. And so no matter how much you would try, I mean, no matter how much, there was absolutely no way to keep up with him. And he would, if you didn't watch it, he'd outdistance you and be in front of you. You couldn't slow him down. And that's probably the way he did a lot of life, is that you just couldn't slow him down.
The Kansas National Guard was not just another job to Colonel Trafton. To him, the guardsmen around him were like family. He was a soldier's soldier and always went out of his way to provide his support.
Jim cared about his soldiers. And sometimes when a soldier was running out of juice, and I mean energy, he would do something for them because he was capable of doing that.
He knew how to save soldiers. He knew that the strength issue was a problem, and he knew how to be personable to people, and he generally cared about our soldiers, you know, and he taught all of us to care about your soldiers. Take care of your soldiers.
Colonel Trafton's impact still has an effect on his family and friends.
That's one of the things that I loved about him most, was that feeling that I could trust him and we would get done what we wanted to do and make it fun, like it wasn't any work at all.
You know, people, whenever I encounter them, always, you know, tell me stories, or it's a compliment. But to hear those kinds of things to all levels makes me feel proud. The memory is strong, and we love him dearly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Colonel James Trafton to the Hall of Fame.